My interest drifted as the shuttle made repetitive missions to the International Space Station, a modern marvel, to be sure, but essentially an achingly slow construction project, best appreciated when it was completed. But the drama of retirement has reignited my curiosity, and I leave the airport in Orlando and head due east with high expectations. I learned something very quickly about Cape Canaveral while driving into Cocoa Beach. There's more going on here than just shuttle launches. Tall lightning rods mark the locations of other launch pads up and down the coast. The Air Force personnel at Patrick Air Force Base call this heavy lift country because of the frequency of military and national security satellite launches that roar away from here every few months. These routine aeronautical miracles don't get much attention in 2011. The launches are in the hands of a capable but costly monopoly called the United Launch Alliance, formed by aerospace giants Lockheed Martin and Boeing, and not worthy of much public discussion. That, however, is destined to change. My visit will cross the historic intersection of two epochs of spaceflight, but it's hard to think about that right now. I pull the rental car into Cape Canaveral under ominously cloudy skies. Weather is the bane of all launches, no matter where the spaceport is located. The parking lot is a grass field located close to the Vertical Assembly Building, VAB. It's impossible to miss the VAB, a 500-foot-tall box emblazoned with a NASA logo. The VAB is the largest single-story building in the world and has housed every manned space launch system since 1968. After being used to assemble Saturn rockets for the Apollo program, the massive structure became where engineers mated the space shuttle orbiters to their solid rocket boosters and external fuel tanks. It stands on the horizon, visible for miles, forming a large white tombstone for NASA's manned flight program. With the shuttle program's end, the VAB will now be empty, purposeless, good only for the tour groups. America has no replacement for the space shuttle and is about to lose its ability to deliver people to orbit. This fact is galling to me. How could NASA and Congress and a line of presidents drop the ball so completely? The smug chin-scratchers who savaged the lunar constellation program, including Aldrin, who lent his fame to support Barack Obama's push for cancellation, are now staring at Atlantis on the launch pad and saying, "What's next?" Aldrin wanted to trade the moon for Mars, but NASA seems to have let him down. How can we ever hope to get people to Mars when we can't even reach the International Space Station? The Constellation program was flawed and wildly expensive, but at least it existed and had a destination. Plenty of people blame the shuttle itself for the U.S.'s flaccid manned spaceflight program. They have good reason. It never reached its declared potential, and its prohibitive cost and tally of dead crew did immense damage to NASA's reputation. But here in Florida, on the verge of its last flight, I don't want to hear any of that. This is an emotional pilgrimage for many, and I find that I'm not immune. When I get to the Cape, the Atlantis orbiter is already at Launch Pad 39A. You can see it from miles away, without binoculars, gleaming white despite the overcast skies. I want to see that powerful vehicle tear its way out of Earth's gravity well, with 7 intrepid souls pressed into their seats, along for a heavy G ride. I want to see history. I'll get that. And an unexpected glimpse of the future as well. Looking at the shuttle and the spaceport infrastructure that it supports, if someone were to tell me that private space companies would change the face of heavy lift country over the next 5 years, I would call them naive. But by the time I leave Florida, just a few days later, I'm thinking about it differently. In May 1947, the Pentagon attempted to launch a V-2 ballistic rocket, like the ones the Nazis used from French soil to bombard London in World War II, outside White Sands, New Mexico. The weapon rose from the pad in a roar of flame and smoke and leaped into the sky. Within moments, however, the testers knew something was wrong. The missile was heading south instead of north. A V-2 is a pretty simple rocket. A tank with an alcohol-water mixture, another tank with liquid oxygen, a small chamber with hydrogen peroxide, and some pipes to mix it, ignite it, and route it through the engine. They are not known for their sophisticated guidance systems, just a couple of vanes on the fins. The range of the V-2 can stretch hundreds of miles, and the Air Force was about to learn that the room they allotted to test them needed to increase. The errant missile flew over El Paso, Texas, and continued south, ultimately running out of fuel over Mexico. It careened into a cemetery in Juarez, leaving a deep 50-foot wide crater